We have a facelifted Tesla Model 3 for 2024 model year, and this was dropped last night. This is only for Europe so far, but it's obviously going to come over to the States eventually. So they say, I've read a lot of comments about this, and most people say that this is the year or the facelift when the Model 3 got beautiful. And I'm not so sure I agree with that. So what we're gonna do in this video, I want to let you know why I think I have to give, see this in real life to give my final verdict on it. But I'm not so sure that this is an improvement when it comes to the exterior design. But the interior is definitely an improvement over the previous one. Before I jump in, and I'm going to compare both the current one and the facelift one in Photoshop from a front, side, rear, interior. Let's have a look at this article from Car Scoops. I am going to link this in the description if you want to go and check this out. So 2024 Tesla Model 3 looks better. Not sure about that. Has more range and a nicer interior. Definitely agree with that. In addition to bringing with a refreshed exterior design, the new Model 3 received an updated interior and a host of other improvements that will boost its range. And the range is pretty substantially boosted here for the 2024 model. I'm going to let you know what that is here in this article too. The front includes a pair of slim LED headlights with incorporated daytime run lights. You can see them right here. More on that. I can't wait to jump in and talk about what's going on in the front end and my thoughts on it in a minute. Sitting above a revised bumper with sharper lines and a new lower grille opening, very small grille opening at the bottom. Tesla has also crafted new 18-inch Photon and 19-inch Nova wheels for the Model 3. The minimalistic philosophy has been retained on the interior, but Tesla has crafted a new dashboard for the Model 3 that includes ambient lighting running across it and flowing into the door. So instead of having this wood trim that we used to have or the white trim, we now have some LEDs going right there. Very modern touch. They're a little late to the game, but I'm glad that they added something like that in the interior. You got new door panels as well. In addition, the car manufacturer has designed a new steering wheel. I think that is the biggest update, at least in my opinion, for making the Tesla Model 3 look a little bit more modern, just to remove the ugly steering wheel that we have in the current Model 3 and replace it with a new, more nicer one. And they also have the turn signals are now incorporated in the steering wheel, so you don't have any stalks on the steering column anymore. And they have also moved the gear selector to the touchscreen. Not 100% sure about that, but maybe it's a cool thing. I don't know. Maybe it works better than the stock. I just like to have something physical, especially for selecting the gears. And here you can see the new rear view. More on this in a minute. Passengers sitting in the rear also receive now an 8-inch touchscreen where they can adjust the climate control settings and access various entertainment functions. The main infotainment screen has also grown a little bit, just a tiny bit in size, from 15 inches to 15.4, and it also has some slimmer bezel. You can see that right here. It looks like a gloss black outline for this new 15.4-inch screen. Now the range increased by 11 to 12% in the entry level. The standard range can now go up to 344 miles, which sounds pretty crazy because the old one, I used to have the old standard range plus, and that got like 280 miles of range. So this is a huge step up for the standard range, and the long range can now go up to 421 miles on a single charge. I think we're starting to get to that point now where EVs, for daily driving, 421 miles, and then you can just charge it overnight or whatever, is starting to get to the point now where it sort of makes sense to, the range anxiety is kind of fading away. 0 to 60 in the standard range is 6.1 seconds. In the long range, you have 4.4 seconds. We don't have any information about the facelifted Model 3 performance just yet, but I'm sure that will come eventually. So with that said, let's jump in and have a look at this Tesla Model 3, the facelifted version, from a front, side, rear view, and the interior. So here it is. We have this new front face. I think this is probably, I guess everyone can agree that the front end of this new 2024 is where the biggest changes happen. But the thing about this, though, I think it's like we're doing with so many EVs these days. the current Tesla Model 3 with this duck face, that not a lot, there was a lot of opinions about this, but I really like this integration of this front face and how it fades into this area. And I also like that we have these headlights having a dynamic LED. So this has a different thickness to it, this piece up here, and it also stretches up onto this hood in connection with this hood line that goes in right here. I actually think that this looks, having a headlight like this that sticks up onto the hood, it gives it more of an exotic feel to me, and I think it just looks better. The previous or the current one looks better than the new one. The new one just looks very boring to me. It's like even though the current Model 3 doesn't really have a lot of personality in it, it does have some personality with these lines that we just talked about, and the more exotic feel, and the overall design of the headlight with this angle going up here following this angle. And we also have this nice line at the bottom that, look at this, if we continue this line, we now have a connection into the side with this line in the side view, which we're going to talk about when we look at the side. We also have a fog light down here that is not existent on the new one. So it feels like, as I said, even though the current Model 3 doesn't really have a lot of personality when it comes to the design, I think they stripped away whatever personality it had in the front end. I mean, even the LED here looks static now because it feels like it's the same thickness going all around, creating a much more boring looking front headlight than we have in the previous one. This just looks so much better in my opinion. And look at the lower section, there's nothing going on here. It's just a flat panel with no lines. One line that kind of creates this front end point for the Model 3. And then this line that we had cutting into the side view, now it has this upswing for it, and this creates a problem in the line flow, which we're going to talk about in the side view. So overall, I mean, the front end, I definitely prefer the previous generation because I think it, as I said, I think it just has more personality to it, and they just stripped away everything that has anything to do with, separating the Model 3 from other bland EVs. This just became a bland front face now to me. But have a look at the side view here. And there's not a lot of changes going on in the side, as you can see, because everything happened in the front and a tiny bit on the rear and, of course, the interior. But this is what I want to talk about. You see this line right here on the current Model 3 continues into, if I can just hit this line properly and not move everything, you can see that we have this line going down and then continues upswing into the rear fender here as well. So we have one line that is connected all around the car. Now, look at the new one. You see the problem here with this specific line? It doesn't connect in the front end. It goes into, I don't know where it's supposed to go, what the direction of this line is, because if we stretch this out, it goes straight into whatever, nothing. There is nothing there to connect this line like we have in the current Model 3. And this is just, it feels like they just made a change to that line because they wanted just to make something new. And to me, it's not, it's not always new is better, and I think that's the case with the front end design of the new Model 3. I'm also not a fan of these wheels. It sounds like I'm not a huge fan of the new Tesla Model 3, but I am really excited about the interior designs changes that they made, but the exterior, not too excited about those changes, and that comes to these, not a huge fan of these wheels either, or these panels that we have on the current Model 3, but I do think that these still, I don't know, I think these look better than what they do in the new Model 3 with this very simple design. Again, this just looks better with the 5 spokes instead of having these. These look a lot cheaper than what they do up here, but that's just my opinion. We still have the nice line flow on the hood right here. You can see that it curves beautifully and then comes back into the shoulder line and then coming back in the rear end as well. And we still, of course, has this beautiful little ducktail right here in the very end, like we have in the current Model 3 as well. Other than that, not a lot of changes. Still have the sideline here going in into the rear bumper. Now, looking at the rear end, this is where I can kind of see that the improvements look maybe a little better. I'm not sure. I mean, I don't think there was anything wrong with the old taillights of the Tesla Model 3. We have a couple of changes here other than the taillights. So let's have a look at what those are. First of all, these taillights, I think they look nice. We have some nice dynamic feeling in the LED because this LED is thicker in this part than it is in this part right here. Well, this does just create some nice flow and some nice interesting features of the design of the Tesla Model 3. We still have some dynamic feeling here in the new ones, but they're a lot slimmer, as you can see. But we still have a thicker piece here, and then it goes into thinner pieces at the top and the bottom. Looks a little more naked to me, the rear end, compared to this one. I'm not sure which one I prefer of this. I think they both look decent. I mean, I don't think it's either better or worse with the new one. I think they could have just kept the old taillights and it wouldn't be a big deal. But I do love that we do have this ducktail integrated. This is one piece that I've always been a fan of in the Model 3. Just looks so clean to have this piece up here. But have a look at these reflector lights down here. Now we have a much more aggressive diffuser on the new Tesla Model 3. You can see that it sticks way up into the bumper. And this is a detail that I really like with the new a refreshed Model 3, because I think this reduces some of the height of the body panels right here, the body colors. It cuts further up right here, which creates more of a sporty rear end and probably maybe helps with this drag coefficient improvement that they have for the new 2024. It is slippier through the air these days with these new refresh. And you can see that these reflector lights now also, look at this, they sit integrated in this diffuser as well. So overall, the exterior design, you know, the front end, not a huge fan of it because I think the old one just looked more sophisticated in some ways. But let's have a look at the interior, and this is where the big changes happen. So up top, we do have the old one, or the current one in the US, with this 15-inch screen right here, as you can see. And this grew a little bit, and you also got it looks like it is maybe a slimmer outline for it. This is 15 inches and this is 15.4 inches. So it grew just a little bit, but the big change here, in my opinion, when you're driving this car, and the thing you're gonna interact with the most is the steering wheel. So look at the old steering wheel, very bland and boring, same material all around right here. And it's not a steering wheel that I think suits a rather, you know, premium brand like this. This is not a very cheap car. So upgrading that is a huge deal, and you can see just how much nicer this got. We now have some design in here with this hollow 3-spoke. You got 2 spokes cutting down here, and then you have this hole in the middle. But look at this, no stalks. This is a detail that I probably want to have still in the new one to just quickly be able to get into drive and reverse without having to swipe this piece up or down like we have in the Tesla Model S now, for example. I think the piece where you swipe on the screen to put it in gear, reverse or forward, is located right here. And I don't know, I don't want to have everything be software based. Just keep a couple of, you know, small functions, keep them still physical. And you know, you don't have a lot of physical stuff in the current one, but they removed the only physical stuff that you have, the stalks, in the new one. And last but not least, you can see this wood trim that we have in the 2023 model now turned into some interesting ambient lighting. I think this location for this ambient light looks pretty random to me. It just goes down into the door. Doesn't have any housing or any connection, you know, to anything else. I would like to have this be a little bit more stylized. Maybe make a chamfer here, make this material a different material, just to make it a little bit nicer and more exclusive, and not just strip away every single feature of the designs that we have in specifically EVs these days. So let me know what you think about this refresh. Are you a fan of the new 2024 facelift, or do you prefer the old one? As I said, I'm gonna have to wait and see until I see it in real life. But I am a huge fan of the improvements they made in the interior, in addition to the 8 screen that the passengers now have available to them.